Hello everyone and welcome to this new video from Free Dreams 106 channel. Today we're going to talk about HueForge, because I want to explore with you a particular technique that I created by combining this software with the CMYK filament kit. Specifically in this tutorial we will find out how to create a glass mosaic style effect. Probably some of you have already seen some HueForge stained glass style prints, and today I want to achieve a similar effect, but with a twist. So in this guide I will show you my method to achieve these prints, but at the end of the tutorial I will also briefly explain the technique of the user who became famous for this effect. So let's cut the chase and get into it. Before I get to the computer, I need to introduce you to the filaments I'm going to use and the logic that led me to create this technique. This glass mosaic effect can be interpreted in two ways. First, as a mosaic that is always visible, and second, as a mosaic that comes to life with light. Think about the ones that you see in great architectures. For example, churches all over the world. These mosaics are visible even when not directly illuminated, but when the sun shines on them, they become even more magical and mind-blowing, with bright colors. So I got to think, how can I achieve such an effect? This solution I came up with takes advantage of this very unique filament kit. Let me explain. This is the CMYK kit from Rusa 3D. We saw it in a previous video where I explained how to create some marvelous colored lithophane. I'll leave the link right there in case you missed it. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, let me explain it quickly what this is. This kit includes 4 spools of 4 different colors: cyan, magenta, yellow and white. It is formulated to use a very clever mechanism similar to that of 2D printers. In fact, by overlaying the different base colors, it will allow us to get as many shades as we want. In addition, these filaments have a very special opacity that makes them perfect for lithophanes. So, why not combine the characteristics of these filaments with HueForge? Colored lithophanes need a multicolor 3D printer, but with this technique that I'm going to show you, you will be able to use this kit even with a normal 3D printer. So, to achieve this surprise effect, I made use of the main feature of these filaments, which is the semi-transparency that allows us to bring the beautiful colored lithophanes to life. In fact, the mechanism will be similar to that of the lithophanes. Light will pass through the filament, with white as the frame of the image. Now that we understand the mechanism, let's move on to the computer to get into the thick of this tutorial. Okay, so here we are at the computer to take a look at how to create this beautiful effect. Let's start with the image that is super important when talking about a HueForge project. If you want, you can use a photo that you can find online, but if you desired a custom photo, you may want to take a look at the image selection part of this article. I've followed the same method that the author of this stained glass effect as used. So I've utilized Microsoft Designer, which is a artificial intelligence available on Microsoft Edge. You can use whatever software you like, but if you don't know anyone, you can take a look at this, and you can copy the prompt which are the instructions that we are going to give to the machine from the article, because they are the same one that I've used for my picture. For example, I've asked this AI to generate a dog mosaic, and as you can see, these 4 pictures are really cool and cute in my opinion. This is beautiful. I would definitely create a HueForge print with this, but for this tutorial I've chosen a tiger mosaic, in particular this picture right there. So once we have generated the image or found it online, we can download it and delete the background that we won't need in the final print. As you can see, I've left only the central mosaic. Now we can import it into HueForge and begin with the fun part. For this print I'm going to use the color match mode, and as you know, it's the most powerful HueForge mode in this moment, in my opinion, and I definitely encourage you to take a look at the guide I've realized about it, because it's a super powerful instrument, and you won't understand what I'm talking about if you don't know this method. So let's start by creating our mesh core. We will import the filament that we will use, so all the Rosa 3D filaments, and as you can see, I've already calibrated them, which is a super important step, because otherwise we won't have a good result. And you might notice that they are all in the 8TD range. That's because they are formulated for colored lithophane, so they have to be semi-transparent. And this will come super handy when creating this mosaic effect. In fact, now we can create our mesh core, and we will invert the usual method, I would say, because usually we start with black as the background, as the base, and we go up to white. In this case, the white will be the base, and the black will be the last color used. So let's start by creating our STL, and in the background we can use the blue, and then then we will add the magenta for the red fuchsia areas, and finally the yellow that will create the yellow areas as well as the orange ones. Okay, now we can adjust a little bit everything to create a better result, and yeah, I think this could be a great image. So let's complete the color core part, and we'll copy what we have on the mesh core column. So the white right there, the blue, magenta and yellow, as well as black. Okay, before moving on with some considerations, let me give you a tip. As you can see right there, it states that the max depth is 2.72 millimeters, but the actual depth is 1.84. That's because HueForge wants us to save time and material, so it deletes automatically what we don't need. Because those two lines, as I've explained in a previous tutorial, represent the saturation of the color. So after these two lines we can add the color, but we are doing nothing because the opacity is was already reached. So to avoid problems with the height of the final model, I'm going to give you a trick that I've created myself when experimenting with this effect. You can add a filament that will trick HueForge. So use a black that is not completely black, so for example with the tree on red, green and blue, and you can call it whatever you want. Okay, and give it a high TD, so for example 50, and now you can drag it there, and as you can see HueForge will understand that it needs to add some new colors. So we can okay, so we can have the right amount of layers that we need. Now, some considerations. Try to use as few layer lines as possible. In fact, the less layer lines we have, the better the surprise effect will be, because the more light will be able to pass through the filament. In particular, the white needs to be as little as possible, so we can tweak the filament sliders to achieve the result that we want. Okay, I would say that's pretty good, and as you can see we have lower all the layers. So the mechanism is really simple, but it's an interesting technique in my opinion. And before going to print this, let me briefly explain how to reach this stained glass effect that it's like always transparent. You can generate the image as I've shown you, but then you need to process it to separate the different colors. So you need to have a component for the blue areas, one for the red areas, and one for the green if you have a lot of green in your image. For example, in this case it's not necessary. Then you are going to process every component with the base layer being a transparent filament. And finally, you can glue the different pieces together to obtain the final effect. If you are interested in this technique, I will leave the link right in the description for you, so you can check it deeper. Now, let's move on to the print. Okay, it's time to see the end result. So here it is, this beautiful mosaic tiger. I honestly really like the end effect, and I think it's perfect for making lamps or home decorations, in my opinion. The shades you get with this CMYK kit are perfect for this glass mosaic effect, in my opinion. Also, it is an ideal use of these filaments for those who don't own a multicolor 3D printer. So let me know below in the comments if you like the end result, and in the meantime, if you like this video, you may also be interested in these ones.